Hi folks, Dave, the Honest Audiophile. This is the Moondrop Chu, and these are my Honest Audiophile impressions. I want to thank inToit Reviews for providing the Moondrop Chu for review. Do greatly appreciate it. inToit Reviews, you rock. If you haven't already, check out inToit Reviews' YouTube channel, give him a subscription, and tell him I sent you. Alright, so the Moondrop Chu, this is a $20 IEM, has a 10mm dynamic driver, 28 ohms of impedance, 120 decibels of sensitivity, and a frequency response of 10 Hz to 35 kHz. Has a very uninspiring box, nothing too special regarding it. Get very few accessories as well. You get this little carrying case, a little bit of Moondrop branding, and a snap. No biggie. You also get these very interesting ear hooks. I was not able to use these ear hooks as they just didn't fit me. Couple reasons. Number one, they are in this position only, and if it just doesn't fit around your ears, you're going to have problems. Also, they're rather thick and just did not fit since I wear glasses. Then you're going to get your IEMs, and you're also going to notice very quickly that they tend to do this number. They like to tangle. Just not the greatest cable. And I found that this cable tends to just be rather annoying. It does not lose its curl, and it's got this weird tacky rubbery feel to it, and I'm just not a big fan. 90 degree 3.5 goes to this hockey puck type of split with some Moondrop branding on it, and then you get your IEMs. The other accessory that you're going to get are the spring tips, and you're going to get small, medium, and large. That's it. Build-wise of the Chu is okay. It's not anything spectacular other than its zinc alloy, but it's kind of weird design. Cable leans forward, and then it's kind of this curved rectangle shape, and truthfully, they're not that very comfortable for me. I don't mind the angle and the length. I can insert them decently. I do use a small tip, and they just don't really fit in the ear very well for me. I find that they're a little heavy and just odd shaped. I can get about an hour or so of listening time on them before they start to hurt my ears really significantly. It was really bad with the ear hooks. That was about a 10-minute listen. But overall, they're okay. They're just odd. And it's a weird choice that it's a permanently attached cable. How do they sound? Well, on sources, they were not very picky whatsoever. I was able to connect them to all my different gear with no problems, whether that would be dongles like the Periodic Audio Rhodium, NextDrive Spectra X, the Hibi FC4, Hibi FC3, X Duo Link V2, you name it, it played on any dongle. DAPs, it played just well. Also, Heidi's AP80 Pro, Sony NWA105, Sony WM1A, no problems whatsoever. And then with desktops, had no issues at all. So the Chu is not picky when it comes to sources, extremely easy to drive. I was always at somewhere around 25 to 30% on the volume dial. They are extremely easy to drive, had no problems. Sound-wise, the Chu, interesting. Not your typical $20 IEM sound signature. Bass. The bass is one of those basses that does just enough, but you always want a little bit more. It doesn't have a lot of punch. It doesn't have a lot of slam, even though it is a little bit more mid-bass focused than sub-bass or upper bass. It just has just enough to kind of keep it energetic, but yet at the same time, I always wanted a little bit more bass. I found that it had a somewhat thin note weight, and that it was just okay on detail retrieval and resolution. Tone and timbre were just adequate. It really didn't do anything special in the bass to set itself apart, but at the same time, it didn't do anything that said, ugh, this is terrible, or wow, this is fantastic. It just kind of did its own little thing and stayed out of the way. Mids. Mids are not balanced. They're not cohesive. They are very much tipped in the upper mids region to the point of being shouty and sibilant. They cause a lot of instruments to sound uneven. So pianos, guitars, strings, woodwinds, and brass instruments were very much affected by this. They sounded really good on the bottom end of the scale, and then as you climbed up through, they became a little bit thinner and a little leaner and also a little stretched and just off a little bit. Tone and timbre was okay, but it wasn't as natural as I would like. It just sounded a little too pushed in the uppers. And at times they became very fatiguing because of that shoutiness and sibilance. Then going into the treble, the lower treble is very elevated and has way too much energy, and it is hot. At times it can be very fatiguing and very aggressive. And then the upper treble also is hot. It is at times too much, and then other times just borderline, and it can be very fatiguing. Has okay note weight and okay tone and timbre, but again, just like the mids and the bass, it needed a little bit more body to things, and it did sound somewhat thin. Detail retrieval was okay. Resolution was a little bit to be desired, especially in the upper mids and treble regions. It could become very harsh and just a little aggressive in presentation, and it was fatiguing. Soundstage is cramped. It has a very small stage, and it can be a little bit muddled and confused on busier, more complex tracks. Does not have the greatest depth and layering. It's okay for the price point, but it's not the best. Imaging actually is fairly competent. I was kind of surprised at that. It does a good job of tracking things across the stage, and also it does a good job of saying it's kind of right in here. It's not quite pinpoint, but it does a pretty good job of saying it's over in this neighborhood. Overall, I find that the Moondrop Chu is okay for its price point. Nothing special. It's just kind of another IEM at its price point. And the flaws that it has just aren't enough to overcome what it does good. To me, the Chu is just one of those other $20 IEMs. How does it compare to the slightly more expensive Triple-Win Leia? In my opinion, the Triple-Win Leia is the better value. You're going to get more note weight and more slam and punch in the bass, and then the mids are more cohesive and balanced. You have a fuller sound and a more smooth presentation, and the upper mids are better controlled. They're not as shouty and as sibilant. And then the treble is not near as fatiguing and is not near as hot as the Chu. Also, soundstage is slightly wider on the Leia, and also depth and layering is slightly better on the Leia, and then the overall imaging is a little bit more precise and accurate. Tone and timbre is more accurate as well on the Leia. So in my opinion, the Chu is okay for $20, but save up and get yourself a couple more pennies and get the Leia. It's been Dave, the Honest Audiophile. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video. Speaking of next video, somewhere on screen, subscription links and notification bells. If you haven't already, check those off. And then don't forget to give a thumbs up or a thumbs down to the video, and check out the links down below. There's all kinds of information down there regarding how you can contact the channel, follow the channel, support the channel, all that kind of stuff. And then there's gear recommendations, music recommendations, and all kinds of other things down below. So don't forget to check out those links, and don't forget to enjoy the music and that honesty is the best policy.